Very nice, James. What did you get? Not guilty?
It's fashion, Stan.
Look, you look like one of those Liverpool Spice Boys from the 1990s.
I'm glad you like it. It's Italian, this. It's all ethically sourced, no sweatshop labour.
It's like a sweatshop in here. It's boiling.
How about boiling my cup of tea?
Now, you see, I am Ron's fashion consultant.
How does that work?
Well, like I say, you can't go out looking like that, mate.
I'll show you. Well, what do you think?
That is so last season. Put the game on, Ron.
The 92-93 season saw the dawn of a glamorous new era for English football with the start of the Premier League. For Liverpool, however, it had had anything but a fashionable start. Indeed, as Liverpool welcomed Spurs for Anfield's final game of that season, manager Graham Souness was close to the sack. After lying down in 15th place in March, Liverpool had resurrected their season, largely thanks to the scoring form of Ian Rush, who went into the game on 299 goals for the club. Up against him was the Premier League's current top scorer, Teddy Sheringham, who'd scored 20 since his move from Nottingham Forest at the start of the season. The two teams went into the match level on points, but with 2 places between them in the table. Liverpool in 8th, Tottenham in 10th. Spurs still had a game in hand, but having lost to Arsenal in the FA Cup semi-finals, they'd little to play for. With Graham Souness off scouting players at the Coventry-Leeds match rather than attending his own final fixture, Ronnie Moran was handling team affairs for Liverpool, and the most notable absence in his picks was expensive summer signing Paul Stewart, who missed thus the chance to meet his former club, replaced by Steve Harkness. Bruce Grobbelaar hadn't always seen eye to eye with Souness, but he was recalled after 7 months in the goalkeeping wilderness to replace the erratic David James in goal. Ian Rush, who was on 12 goals for the season, was partnered by John Barnes in attack. Tottenham, meanwhile, had to dig deep for reinforcements after what had been an injury-ravaged season. They were still missing Vinnie Samways and so had to rely on 2 teenagers in their starting lineup. Kevin Watson, 19 years of age, began in the centre of midfield, while 18-year-old Danny Hill was making his first ever start. Young goalkeeper Ian Walker was still deputising in goal after Eric Torstved had broken his hand against Nottingham Forest a month earlier. Fortunately, Teddy Sheringham had shrugged off a bruised calf to bring some seniority to the side. The Standing Cop were in full voice as they hoped for some positive news to end a topsy-turvy season. Your match commentator at Anfield is Martin Tyler.
Liverpool kick off, hoping to end a season of some stress at Anfield with a stylish performance here against a very young Tottenham team. Here's Dave McDonald with his first intervention. Ian Walker is back in goal. Has been for the last month or so because Eric Torsvet broke a hand in the game at Nottingham Forest. Harkness wearing number 7, but playing at left back with David Burrows ahead of him on the left side of midfield. At left back for Spurs is the former Everton player, well known in these parts, Pat van den Hauwe. Well, here's Hill. It's a promising run until it came to his attempt to cut the ball back. The Tottenham's production line is the envy of many clubs, and Danny Hill, one of the latest to come off it. Vinnie Samways is out injured today. The 2 regular fullbacks, Dean Austin and Justin Edinburgh, have both had to have surgery recently. Foot raised by Steve Sedgley, who then stopped Barnes taking the free kick quickly. Hutchison. Harkness. That was a clever change of direction by Barnes that fooled Mabbott, and now Allen, like Sedgley a moment or two earlier, getting away with intervening at the free kick. More strict approach from the referee might have meant the yellow card being brandished there. The flag is being waved though on the far side, and Barnes is offside. Well, that is the Liverpool bench, on which there is no Graham Souness today. On the extreme right of the picture, Roy Evans, who the supporters have been talking about as a possible successor. Another of the backroom staff who've given their lives to Liverpool. Sedgley, pressed by Mark Walters, had the skill to get out of the trouble. Allen. This is Darren Anderton, whose season has got better and better and has something of a score to settle with Liverpool. He was with Portsmouth last season, Anderton, when Liverpool knocked them out of the FA Cup at the semi-final stage. Here's Barnes, inviting Burrows to move forward. Looking for Rush, and looking for the landmark for Rush. Redknapp. McDonald blocking. He's certainly not short of match practice, Dave McDonald. He's had a spell, a couple of months on loan at Reading in the second division. Played 14 times in their first team recently. But this, as they say, is a slightly different kettle of fish. Harkness. Barnes. For Rush, Walker started to come, thought better of it, and Rush may be looking up just to see where the goalkeeper had got to, and took his eye off the ball. Barnes. Had to go rather square across the edge of the area to Walters. Brandon Howe defending well. And here's Anderson, chance for a break for Tottenham here. Sheringham. Here's Vanden Howe. Spurs still have one more game to come. They play Arsenal on Tuesday. But this is the end of the road for Liverpool for season 1992-93. Whether it's the end of the road for Graham Souness still remains to be seen. John Barnes, appointed captain by the still current managerial regime, but he too has had his difficulties with the man in the hot seat. Liverpool have said, through Peter Robinson, their chief executive, that there will be no statement today. So we can sit back and enjoy the football, and when Liverpool and Tottenham meet, there's usually plenty of good football to enjoy. Nicol. Good work by Barnes. Starting the match through the centre, with Burrows lurking on the left touchline. And clipping that far too close to the goalkeeper. Hill for Anderton. Here's Vanden Howe, who twice won the championship in his time with Everton. Watson. Now Sheringham, whose goals have taken him into the England setup. Anderton did flick it on, and no one there for Spurs. Grobbelaar anxious to keep the game going. Absolutely delighted to be back wearing the #1 jersey here, where he still believes he can be regarded as the #1 goalkeeper. Plenty of competition. Jones. Barnes. Burrows just started to tuck in a little bit, and in fact, in making that move, went offside. Well, Bruce Grobbelaar's been here since 1981, when he took over from Ray Clements, who's here today in his capacity on the coaching staff of Tottenham. And a great help to Ian Walker, the current Spurs goalkeeper. Tottenham have the throw. Allen. Beavering on. And not trying to deceive the referee by falling them when there was marginal contact. Allen keeping his eye on the ball and his intentions honourable. You can see that scar around the right eyebrow there. It was inflicted last week, an injury against Wimbledon. The elbow of Brian McAllister, who was sent off for the challenge. McDonald blocked by Burrows. Ruddock keeping it well away from Rush. Tottenham have won only twice here in the league since 1912. Both those wins in the 80s. Watson looking to the left-hand side. Liverpool have been beaten at White Hart Lane this season by 2-0. And they just haven't found the consistency so celebrated at this club. And one of the problems that Graham Souness has had, as Anderton goes through here and in the end doesn't test Grobbelaar unduly. But it was a fine run. He got away from Nicol, not such a fine shot. But Graham Souness wanting to change all sorts of things in the running of what has been relatively a very conservative as well as very successful football club. Rush. Sedgley couldn't quite scoop it away. Hill. Oh, and Mark Wright on the fall, but just was able to get to the ball and set Liverpool going forward here. He's gone on into the centre himself as Walters earns them a corner. We've had 10 minutes at Anfield as the curtain comes down on Liverpool's Premier League season. That came off Walters from a rather mishit corner, one suspects, from Barnes. Jones. A little short and Watson in the way, but Jones gets it back. Barnes, Walters, might be something on for Liverpool here. In the end, it was Walters who tried to provide it. But he pulled the shot somewhat, and although Walker went down, it was only as a precaution. Burrows. Might drop for Barnes, whose header though goes straight to Danny Hill. Hill's appeared twice before in the senior side, both times as a substitute. So his first full game, and what a place to have it. Rush. Mastered by Mabbott for the moment. Sheringham, Anderton. A lot of responsibility resting on those two in attack for Tottenham. Tottenham waiting for Van den Hauwe to take the free kick and waiting for Ruddock to move upfield. Hutchison's header, and Grobbelaar unable to prevent the corner. Anderton to take it. They've had a lot of success recently, Spurs, from set pieces. Grobbelaar tempted and lucky, but it was too high for Ruddock. It's always been part of the Grobbelaar game, the confidence to come off his line. Sometimes it's reckless, and of course mistakes in his position can often be catastrophic. But Bruce Grobbelaar remains one of the most colourful characters on the circuit, and there are plenty of people here who are very pleased to see him back today. But nobody quite as pleased, I think, as the man himself. Oh, and Grobbelaar just giving a semblance of a chance to Anderton, and then Nicol did give the ball to Sheringham, and Liverpool playing a dangerous game. Well, there are no trophies at stake at the end of this afternoon, but Liverpool very much under scrutiny. Miscalculation by Ruddock, but not quite like the miscalculation at the other end. And Grobbelaar initially took a chance, and Nicol rather got caught up in the same mood. It's a wasteful one from Watson. Harkness. The way out for Liverpool is through Mark Walters. Harkness has carried on. This is the left back. Well forward down the right. Jones. In fact, Harkness in the end getting caught offside. 15 minutes gone here at Anfield. Liverpool 0, Tottenham Hotspur 0. A bit of news for you from the relegation issue. On a day when Crystal Palace could go down, they are 1 goal down to Arsenal, and guess who scored it? Their former star, Ian Wright. If Palace lose and Oldham were to win, then Oldham would stay up and Crystal Palace would join Nottingham Forest and Middlesbrough in Division 1 next season. The Premier League place would be lost. Both sides going into this game level on 56 points, and there's not been too much to show between them in the opening sorties here, and it can't be easy even for the players to get their minds quickly back on the job, the Liverpool players that is, with so much talk about the manager's position. Sedgley's throw for Tottenham, Mabbott, and still Mabbott, and he claims that the ball went spiralling over the bar via a deflection. But Sedgley's long throw causing the confusion. Goal kick, the outcome. Anderton. Sheringham. And Watson robbed there by the interception from Nicol, which happened in the end. There was a moment's hesitation. Barnes. Here's Harkness. Don Hutchison had sprung forward through the centre for the moment, swapping roles with Rush, only momentarily. That's Liverpool's throw. I can tell you now that Graham Souness has been spotted at Highfield Road, Coventry, where Coventry play Leeds today. You can imagine the odd headline or two. Liverpool sends Souness to Coventry. There's certainly been enough headlines with that particular name in it. Offside is Darren Anderton. Well, even at the age of 35, Bruce Grobbelaar still a follower of fashion when it comes to hairstyles. Is that a little ponytail there? McDonnell lets the ball run. Sheringham. Walters making up the ground here, and Walker just gets a fist to it, helped by Watson's header. Calmly done by Van den Hauwe, confidently done by Danny Hill. Well, it was over-ambitious, but it was a sudden injection of excitement into Tottenham's play there from the 18-year-old. Right. We've had 20 minutes with Liverpool finding this rather makeshift Spurs side full of enthusiasm, and with men on the management team like Ray Clements and Doug Livermore, former Liverpool employees, very keen to put on a show here. But Liverpool make them track back with Mark Walters. Barnes is the closest player to him, but he never released the ball. Allen does release it in timely fashion for Watson. Sheringham and Anderton in the centre. Oh, and against the bar, Allen's header. Spurs unlucky. Paul Allen started it and very nearly rounded it off. Watson picked him out, and Grobbelaar was beaten, didn't even dive, and it smacked back into play from Paul Allen. Rush. Yes! 300 up! The Liverpool landmark of Ian Rush. A historic goal on the final Saturday of Liverpool's season, coming moments after Liverpool was so close to going a goal down. A near miss from Paul Allen at the Kop end. Ian Rush doesn't miss. (1-0) to Liverpool, and Rush, in this troublesome week at Anfield, does give them all something to smile about here, and the scorer in particular, the first player already, of course, holding the club all-time record, so the first to reach the milestone, 300 goals. Well, you could say it's tough on Tottenham, and more misfortune for them here. Walker careering out into Van den Hauwe. Well, Tottenham hurt in more ways than one. But the more serious blow happened a few seconds earlier. I'm sure Van den Hauwe, who's one of the tough men of the Premier League, when he gets his breath back, will get back into the game. Unless, of course, Dave Butler finds that something there, a jaw might be damaged. No sign of any teeth missing. I don't know why, in the end, Ian Walker had to go for that. Van den Hauwe was going to get to the ball quite clearly, and although it was going to cost a corner, surely better than costing a player. Well, that should clear the head. But the Kop paying tribute to Ian Rush. It really has been a privilege to see Rush play. And it's been a special season for him, if not for Liverpool. He overtook Roger Hunt's previous record with a goal at Old Trafford back in the autumn. And he's kept going, and he puts it down possibly to a new addition to his family, concentrating the thoughts. He's now scored 10 in his last 13 games. His overall tally, 21 for the season. But the bottom line figure, 300 for Ian Rush. Well, Van den Hauwe carrying on for the moment, and certainly he's got his senses about him, having a little joke with the spectators there. Sheringham. Liverpool pushing out and allowing Grobbelaar a free catch because Tottenham had to come back out with them. Right. Here's Redknapp. Abbott's header. Walters. Anderton chasing back. Sedgley keeping his eye on the ball in the tackle. Here's Van den Hauwe. All Sheringham could do was to flick it on. Anderton, in fact, as we'd seen, was a little deeper that time. Hill, Sheringham coming in. And, well, he tried, presumably, to clip it for goal here, thinking that Grobbelaar was giving him something to aim at. In fact, it seemed that Sheringham unwittingly aimed straight at the goalkeeper. But he's a clever forward, Teddy Sheringham, and it wouldn't have been beyond his range to clip that beyond Grobbelaar's left hand and curl it inside the far post as he looked. But it was so tame in the end that Sheringham was just left hanging his head in disappointment. So either side of Rush's goal, Tottenham could have struck. Confirmation from the Tottenham medical staff that they're not too concerned about Pat Van den Hauwe. Slight cut to his lip. Right, Redknapp. There is Van den Hauwe moving well to intercept. Allen. Here's McDonald. Watson. Oh, and it was just knocked away from Allen by Nicol. Hartness, though, not initially able to complete the clearance. He can do now. Barnes. Here's Hutchison. Walters calling for the ball on the far side. Hutchison trying to thread it through beyond Mabbutt to Rush. Both players slipping. Jones, who had such a fairy tale first season with Liverpool, this is second. He's regained a regular place after injury and illness. Nicol. That's a feature of Tottenham's defending. A school of thought that Terry Venables is very much a disciple of. His back line compressing the play. So you expect to see a few offsides when Spurs are involved in a game. Barnes. Hill. Brandon Howe trying to locate Darren Anderton. Right with the header. Sedgley first on the scene for Spurs. Allen. Allen again. And still, it's a very probing run. One step too far, that's easy to say. Allen was trying to set himself for a shot as he took right on. But just allowed right to block it. Spurs get a corner, but more evidence that they're still very much in this game, despite being a goal down. Ruddock. No shortage of efforts on goal from Tottenham. Neil Ruddock this time. And the player who ended up on the deck is David Burrows. Burrows moving back here, and both Wright and Ruddock coming through onto him, and maybe one of them catching him painfully by the base of the spine. More news for you in this stoppage about what's happening elsewhere. Oldham 1-0 up at home to Southampton. To remind you, Crystal Palace 1-0 down at Highbury to Arsenal. If it stays that way, Crystal Palace will go down, and Oldham will have made an amazing escape. Sheringham climbing well. Allen trying to lift it through for Anderton. Liverpool rather riding their luck at times at the back. Delightfully glided off to Walters by Barnes. Here's Jones. Oh, Ruddock saw that coming. Rob Jones rather caught out of position. And Tottenham breaking through Anderton. It's a good try, it's a terrific save by Grobbelaar. From this angle, quite clearly you could see that that would have arrowed inside the far post from Darren Anderton, but Grobbelaar had other ideas. The goalkeeper who was beaten by Anderton in the FA Cup semi-final last season, but not beaten here on his return to the senior side after some 6 months away. Splendid stop. Foul by Sedgley on Hutchison. Don Hutchison, who was sent off at Oldham on Wednesday. fact, Liverpool having a red card in each of their last 2 games. David James in goal at Norwich last weekend also didn't last the game, but he is missing today, not because of suspension. That won't take effect until next season. The same for Hutchison. James dropped and not even required as a substitute this afternoon. Burrows. And again. Barnes! Not out of his range, really, to sweep it goalwards from this sort of cross. It needed a deft touch, but Barnes, in fact, rather played the ball off one foot onto the other leg, I think, and it just spiralled behind. Pushed by Sheringham on Hutchison. Teddy Sheringham, who started the season, of course, in the colours of Nottingham Forest, scored their first goal in the Premier League against Liverpool. What a goal it was, too. But it was the only goal he scored for Forest this season, and the selling of him, one reason for their decline. Burrows' cross, well held under challenge from Walters by Walker. Watson. That's a little risky here. Played across the face of his teammates by Kevin Watson. Liverpool not slow to seize on the chance, but being pressed back here by the work of Hill. Wright stepping in. Plenty of Liverpool players forward. Barnes. A little bit off the cuff, but it still might come to something. Hutchison flags up against Rush, presumably. An update from Oldham for you. Southampton have equalised 1-1 there. Southampton, of course, managed by a former Crystal Palace coach, Ian Branfoot, who wouldn't want to see his old employers be relegated, and has a chance of influencing the proceedings with his Southampton team at Boundary Park. Ruddock to take the free kick. It's 1-0 to Liverpool here. Anderton. Redknapp gets it away. McDonald. No one that far left for Spurs, although Vandenhouwe belatedly makes a move. And does well. Well, it was Danny Hill who tried to deliver a telling cross. Nine minutes to go to half-time. Hutchison. Rush. Here's Burrows. Now Redknapp. Can McDonald get there? Well, it doesn't matter in any case, because Harkness called foul of the offside trap here. Originally signed from Carlisle, Steve Harkness. He's been around a little while. Cost only £75,000. He's still only 21. Hill. Sedgley. Vandenhouwe being checked really by his teammates from time to time, just flicking the eyes there, and I wonder whether he's got a problem with his vision after that collision with Ian Walker. Nicol. Rush. Stray one from him. Watson. Now Hill. He's prepared to run with the ball, but rather unwisely that time. Redknapp. Oh, and it was just reached by Mabbutt at the full extent of the dive. There's no doubt that Tottenham's season turned with the return of Gary Mabbutt to the side at the end of October. Reliable, rock-like, and one of the game's gentlemen as well. Found by Walters. McDonald with the free kick. Ruddock trying to loop it over Grobbelaar, and I think it would have gone in but for the goalkeeper's intervention. No disguising the Tottenham intentions there, but they executed it well. Great jump by Ruddock, and Grobbelaar taking no chances. Right, getting to the ball just before he was pushed down by Ruddock. Barnes helping out at the back, met by McDonald. Brandon Howe, Sheringham, good movement by Anderton. Trying to tease the ball away from Wright and from Jones, he's done that. Sheringham. Mabbutt shot! And again Grobbelaar comes up with a great save. But you have to feel for Spurs at the moment. They're certainly not inhibited here at Anfield. And it's a lively return to the Liverpool goal for Bruce Grobbelaar, and Gary Mabbutt, an old adversary there, denied by some glorious goalkeeping. And it was a terrific try-at goal from the Tottenham captain as well. Ruddock. Burrows and Hutchison in cultured fashion picking out Rush when Liverpool might have thought about just hoofing the ball away. It could lead to a great goal on the break for Barnes, and it should have done. Don Hutchison started it all right in his own area. Taking it on was Rush. And then suddenly Barnes seemed to be in the clear. He just tried to overpower Walker, and in putting the strength into the shot, Barnes couldn't keep it down. Well, they've played for higher stakes, these two teams, in the past, but they're certainly not deserting the traditions in both camps. Premier League placings, that's all that's on offer here, and that of course under the new financial arrangement with the governing body does mean incentives all the way down the table. Look where Grobbelaar's come to. Ruddock saw where he was, trying for something very spectacular. Walters, terrific trickery, and Steve Sedgley leading the protests here, but Walters was winning the race with Brandon Howe. And more problems for Pat Brandon Howe, whose physical state is giving Tottenham cause for concern. And now his disciplinary state Here's a little perilous as well. He's booked here by Stephen Lodge, the referee. Well, Ian Walker trying to set a wall here, and John Barnes seeing if he can find a way around it. But Redknapp comes up to take it. And Walker isn't troubled in the end. Well, Redknapp certainly got enough bend on the ball, but again, rather like the earlier effort and free play from Barnes. Just too much underneath it. Well, after a rather tentative start, the game has got better and better. Sheringham. Well, he looked right and he looked left, Teddy Sheringham, and then had eyes only for goal. And that was very optimistic. Allen. Grobbelaar. He loves doing that. And it was quite an early release of the ball from him, really, once he got into the outfield position. Tempted in past years to go even further forward than that. Walters. Just a minute to go, plus injury time, and Barnes! 2-0! Marvellously made by Mark Walters. And Spurs trying to see out the half with Pat Van Howe still on the pitch to check whether he's really fit to continue, but he was left trailing there by Mark Walters, and John Barnes buried the header. 2-0 to Liverpool. And Rush this time is first to congratulate another scorer after all the congratulations he's received himself down the years. Well, you've got to have a certain amount of sympathy for Spurs, who will feel they're not 2 goals worse than Liverpool on this showing. But the home team have taken their chances. And Spurs just haven't been able to get the better of Grobbelaar. Jones. Another check on the watch from the referee, who blows for half-time on a day when Liverpool are wondering whether they'll have a new manager. 2 of their longest-serving players have special satisfaction here. Ian Rush with his 300th goal for the club. Bruce Grobbelaar bouncing back into the team with some outstanding saves, particularly from Darren Anderton and from Gary Mavett, how he's enjoyed his half. And the crowning glory of the half came from John Barnes. Tottenham tough on them a little, but they go in at Anfield, trailing Liverpool by 2-0. Tottenham have brought on Stuart Nethercott in place of Pat Van Howe for the second half. Nethercott, who's 20 years old, has recently been in the side at right back. He'll certainly start the second half at left back. And Pat Van Howe, as a precaution, will be taken to a local hospital to be checked out with suspected concussion. So 2-0 to Liverpool. The first half finishing on a real high for them, with John Barnes heading in the second. But here's Sheringham with a wonderful chance to beat Grobbelaar. He's done that, and it's suddenly 2-1. Well, the sign was there in the first half that Spurs were able to get through the defensive ranks, if not past the goalkeeper. Well, they've done that this time. The long free kick from Ruddock. And no offside. Sheringham keeping his nerve, taking the chance. 2-1. Sheringham's 28th goal in all competitions this season, his 21st in the Premier League. And we really do have a game now. Inside, what, 40 seconds of the second half. Hill. Here's Nethercott. Watson. Well, if Liverpool were expecting a slightly more relaxed second 45 minutes, they've had a real jolt. Looking good for them. 2-0 up, attacking the Kop end in the second half. But suddenly now, their lead has been halved. But Burrows. Awkward height from Abbott. In the end, he rather need it behind for the corner. Harkness. Oh, deflected! And a goal for Liverpool. Steve Harkness gets the congratulations, and Tottenham in turn are stopped in their tracks. Harkness moving in. Oh, and it was Nethercott, the unlucky player. Oh, an unhappy arrival here for the Tottenham substitute. 3-1, and we are 3 minutes into a second half that's had an extraordinary beginning. Sheringham behind him. Well, Tottenham not able really to prey on any Liverpool nerves, having pulled it back. And poor Stuart Nethercott, whose severe deflection there, responsible for Liverpool regaining the 2-goal advantage. Headed back by Sedgley. (3-1). And if you're just back from a half-time cup of tea, I'm afraid you've missed quite a lot. Free kick to Tottenham. Taken by Anderton. Didn't get it beyond the first player, who was Barnes, and that was disappointing for Spurs. What sort of battling qualities will they be able to reveal here? They really haven't had the breaks. Watson. McDonald. Anderton, and rather confusing Allen. Redknapp. Right. Now Redknapp. Barnes. Hutchison taking over. Rush is offside. But it's almost as if the Liverpool players who have been fed up with the speculation, and Ian Rush himself has spoken out about that, wanting some guidance really from the board of directors here about the Graham Souness position. But the Liverpool players now happy to be out there performing, and at least while they're out on the pitch at Anfield, no one can actually ask them who they think will be Liverpool's manager next season. Back from Nicol. Rush. Long from Nethercott, misjudged by Wright. Got a second bite at it, then was impeded by Sheringham. And that gives Liverpool a free kick. It's a little bit of relief there for Wright, who was in a good position to pick the attempted pass off. First of all, Jones. Rush has done well. Barnes, offside. Hutchison. The supporters on the Kop, in between cheering the Liverpool action on the pitch, have been sending their message to the directors of the club. No seats. They want the right to stand. Barnes standing firm there was McDonald. The rookie defender in the Premier League just got across there to tow it away from the Liverpool captain. And in fact, Barnes injured in that little episode. But the supporters on the Kop encouraged today to bring their flags and banners from past years, although they will be allowed to stand here for one more season. They want the right to retain that particular vantage point as it is now. Of course, it's out of the hands of Liverpool Football Club with the regulations from UEFA and FIFA about top quality stadia. Torben Picnic and a Liverpool teenager, Robbie Fowler. Two substitutes there. Burrows, a bit of pushing. The relegation position, incidentally, at Oldham and involving Crystal Palace at Arsenal still favours Oldham. They're 3-1 up against Southampton. Crystal Palace, who need a draw to survive, are 1-0 down at Arsenal. McDonald with the Tottenham free kick. Ruddock was knocked away by Jones for Liverpool. Lovely control by Danny Hill, who does seem a very, very talented youngster indeed. One hesitates to build up too much players when they first appear in the Premier League, but certainly a name to note, Danny Hill of Tottenham. Rush. Barnes. Cut out by Nethercott, who does prefer to play in the centre of defence. Right, it's a rather risky ball from Hutchison in the first place. And Grobbelaar, what's he done here? And He was trying to flick the ball up to volley it away, and it just went too far ahead of him. And Darren Anderton, with a determined lunge, it was almost egg on the Grobbelaar face. The ball was bouncing, so he wanted to take the pace off it, and well, Anderton could have got a goal to get Tottenham back into the game again, and Grobbelaar would have faced the critics. Watson turning into the tackle from Redknapp. Barnes for Walters. Well, Barnes is free here. Is it another one for Liverpool? Maybe for Rush. That wouldn't come down for him. And then he was blocked by McDonald. But Tottenham lost track of Barnes for a moment. Meanwhile, while the game was going on, in the other half of the pitch, Bruce Grobbelaar was signalling his apology to Ronnie Moran, who had probably let rip a verbal rocket in Bruce's direction. Harkness headed back, so that's safe for Grobbelaar to collect. Whatever the pros and cons about who should keep goal for Liverpool, and as I say, they've got three capable of doing the job, it's certainly less interesting when the incumbent isn't Bruce Grobbelaar. Right, flicked on by Barnes. Oh, Walters feeling the force of Ruddock's tackle. Jones, that's Sedgley, and the ball will stay in play. Hill chasing to force right into the clearance, headed back by Nethercott, and Danny Hill coming back was offside. Walters, and it was the Tottenham offside trap that caught out Barnes then, who was trying to bend his run to beat the tactic, but the linesman indicated he'd just got too far forward. Sheringham. Grobbelaar has played 11 internationals for Zimbabwe this season. Travelled a lot of miles, and of course those regular journeys back to Africa have stopped his availability for Liverpool. Not always been required, but on occasions where he might have restaked his claim, he's been in another part of the world. Right, throw to Tottenham, who are trying again to make inroads into this Liverpool lead. Allen. Watson. Ruddock, plenty of players on that far side for Ruddock to aim for. McDonald. Watson, Liverpool at the moment not able to intervene. Hill. Well, the pressure finally paid off when Hill was forced off the playing area. Just over half an hour to go. It's 3-1 to Liverpool here. And now it's Watson who's in the wars. The Londoner, who scored on his debut in the Coca-Cola Cup back in September. That was against Brentford. Lee Hodges is Tottenham's other outfield substitute. who is a forward and has scored a couple of league goals this season for Plymouth when he was on loan. But he has to wait for his chance at Anfield as Watson prepares to soldier on. Harkness. Two up for Tottenham, but Nicol in the right place for Liverpool. Watson. Wasn't really an angle there. Hill coming in from the left-hand side, rather too centrally. Barnes. Here's Burrows. Oh, it's McDonald who slipped, and Nethercott has to concede the corner. Walters. Jones. Liverpool looking along the line, trying to stay onside, but the cross forced Walker to backpedal, but was well within his reach. Tottenham can't get out at the moment. Burrows. Redknapp. Into Rush, good tackle by Nethercott. Redknapp regaining the possession for Liverpool. Hill trying to catch out Jones. That's good play by Liverpool. The third goal, restoring their mood. The team, or the club, should I say, who has founded their success on a passing game. Linking up well here. Redknapp. Oh, a bold break from Jamie Redknapp. And suddenly, after a bout of passing, came a solo run that has produced an ovation from the Kop. But in the end, didn't ring too many alarm bells for Tottenham when that foot was stuck out there by Jamie Redknapp, sending the ball too far ahead beyond his ability to collect it. But here's Hill. Loose ball to Nethercott. Aiming for Sheringham. Sedgley. Harkness. Burrows herring forward. Mabbott easily the winner of that race. Sheringham. Both sides really committed to attack now. Hill. Well, the disagreement between linesman and referee there, but Steve Lodge had spotted the deflection. It was Tottenham's throw. Allen trying to take on Harkness. Nicol. It's lovely play from Liverpool. This has the old stamp about it. Jones for Walters. Deep cross for Rush's head. Well, in the end, it was neither one thing nor the other. It wasn't a header to trouble the goalkeeper or to tee up a teammate. And Rush rused that fact. But prior to his effort at goal, the way that Liverpool had eased the ball around the pitch was very easy on the eye. Nicol. Walters. Oh, and Sheringham, Liverpool certainly taking more of a risk at the back than perhaps they would earlier in the season. The flag is up for offside. Tottenham are going to make another change with just over 20 minutes gone in the second half. Kevin Watson, who did pick up an injury earlier in the half, but the reason for him going off is tactical. And Lee Hodges, former England youth international, 19 years old, who's a naturally left-sided player, but also a prolific goal-getter in Tottenham's junior teams. And it's goals Spurs need here at Anfield. They've had almost an even number of chances, but Liverpool lead by 3-1. Hill. Well, the youngsters not giving it up here. Hodges would have hoped for an early chance for glory with a pass, but Hill went for his own glory with the shot. Well, Terry Venables is a great believer in producing players through the ranks, and certainly he can look back on this season with some progress made in that respect. The match at the 3-quarter mark. Bruce Grobbelaar beaten once by Teddy Sheringham inside the first minute of the second half. But 3 times Ian Walker's had to pick the ball out of his net. Nethercott. Hill for Sedgley. It's a little too determined there for Walters. Sheringham, Nethercott. Allen for Sheringham. This is good play from Tottenham. Anderton, who likes to get the ball in early, and Sheringham would have been suited by a cleaner connection in the cross. Anderton rather pulled it. Sheringham had actually got free. Redknapp with freedom here of his own. Burrows. Now Harkness. For Barnes. Into Rush. Can he get there first? He's round the goalkeeper. The flag is up. One had to watch Rush first and foremost, particularly in case he might have been brought down by Walker coming off his line and all that that entails in this type of situation. But a glance across by all concerned, the linesman saw that that particular piece of action in the end was irrelevant. Sedgley, Van Allen, Jones. Well, it fell well for Tottenham, but Sheringham knocked it back where he thought there were players lurking left. In fact, Hodges had moved into the middle. Jones with the clearance. If Spurs could get another goal here, well, it wouldn't be totally beyond them. There's a hand up there by the most recent arrival in the game, Lee Hodges. Right, blocked by Hodges. A little complacently from Liverpool there. Sheringham, Nicol backing off. Sheringham going on. And he got into the area, which made it even more difficult for Steve Nicol to think about a tackle. But when the shot came, and Nicol couldn't prevent it, didn't give any hardship to Grobbelaar. Walters, Liverpool's best aspect of this performance has been in attack. Oh, Harkness tripped palpably by Dave McDonald. Another sortie forward by Harkness from left back. not too far away from where he was when he set up the third goal. Although it was an inadvertent deflection by Nethercott that provided it. Walters. Burrows coming in. Corner. Off the back of Anderton, I think. Well, any doubts about the final outcome would surely be ended if Liverpool could get a fourth goal. Redknapp. Pretty to watch, not particularly pertinent for Liverpool in that attack from John Barnes. Allen. Hutchison. Now Burrows. Barnes made that look easy. It wasn't. Burrows. Well, he'd spotted Mark Walters, I think, on this near side, but was nowhere near finding him. Tottenham trying to play from the back. Not very successfully. Walters has it back for Liverpool. Tripped by Nethercott, whose mistake it was in the first place. But it's hard for inexperienced defenders like Stuart Nethercott to cope with even this Liverpool side, which hasn't been, as the league table shows, quite as strong as the glorious teams of the past, but still formidable in front of the Kop. Burrows. Now Harkness. Redknapp. Well, there have been one or two tricks and flicks, or at least attempted, which gives you a little bit of the end of season feel. Hodges. Several of the Tottenham players, though, far from being the end of the season, it's the start of their careers. Like Lee Hodges. Rolls for Redknapp. There's been plenty of space for David Burrows in the second half, which still has 17 minutes to run. Liverpool looking to really end their season with a flourish. Redknapp. But the Tottenham offside trap continues to confuse them at times. Excellent control by Allen, who remains one of the professionals. He's just a delight for any manager, I'm sure, week in, week out, consistent. Walters. Consistency not always a term applied to him, but he's certainly got magical qualities. Well, Hill. With the nervelessness of youth, really. I think an older hand might have just let the ball run out then and not taken the chance, but Tottenham got away with it. Hutchison, Redknapp. And again, Hutchison is away, and the ball is away from him. Liverpool putting it together again here. Redknapp beating Allen to steer it, this time through the offside trap, but the ball was too straight for Hutchison's run. We're into the last 15 minutes of this rather troubled season for Liverpool. Certainly a shortfall in terms of expectations here. And of course, the whole generations of supporters who've known nothing less than Liverpool winning trophies. Anybody under 30. Rush He's in. Is it 4 for Liverpool? No! Well stopped, Walker. Just had to put up a barrier there. When the odds favoured goal number 301. Mabbott down and rushed past him, trying to power it past Ian Walker, who somehow found some part of his body to deflect it behind for the corner. Walker, of course, the son of the Norwich City manager Mike Walker, former goalkeeper himself. His dad wouldn't be perhaps so impressed by the movement off the line there. And Rush beat him to the corner. Well, Ian Rush has been saying that in these difficult times he's been playing for himself and his recently increased family, his second son Daniel, then for his teammates. And whatever the incentive, it certainly worked for Rush and for Liverpool. He's looking as good as ever at the age of 31. Anderton. Sedgley. Oh, it's gone through Mark Wright. Sedgley! 3-2! And Tottenham are back in it again. 13 minutes to go. Steve Sedgley really got the drop on Mark Wright here. Liverpool's defending this season has certainly been punctuated by lapses like this, the latest. And Sedgley made the most of the opportunity. Sheringham chasing. Now, will it be a real spur for Tottenham? Or can Liverpool, as they did last time, immediately find their own goal touch again? Well, I think even in this last 90 minutes or 78 or so that we've had of Liverpool's season, you've seen why it hasn't all been sweetness and light. You've seen the good sides, but there's been a vulnerability too, which in many a previous year wouldn't have been there. Walters. Mislaid by Barnes. Sheringham. Hill. Tottenham not quite getting it right then. Sheringham hanging on to the ball when he was worried that there might have been an offside if he'd released it forward. Harkness. Barnes for Walters. Rush making his move, but Walters possibly looking for that, allowed Nethercott to step in. Barnes. Well, any thoughts that Liverpool might just be able to rest on their laurels in the closing stages, swept aside by Sedgley. And the travelling Tottenham band hoping now for an eventful finale here. And this rather mixed Spurs side, with the likes of Dave McDonald pressed into service. They're still within reach of Liverpool, but they haven't caught them yet. McDonald. Is that going to stay in play? It's not. It's a Liverpool throw. Harkness. (3-2) here. Hutchison. Watched by Sedgley. Barnes. And Nethercott pushed down Rush. A penalty to Liverpool. And Nethercott, who diverted in the Liverpool third, may well now be responsible for the fourth. The player to take it is Mark Walters. Eight minutes to go. Walker rather dived out of the way, and Walters knows he was lucky. It's 4-2. Tottenham not happy about the penalty award. And Walters mishitting his shot here. But it went in right down the centre, and Walker could only try and wave a foot at it as it passed, as he plunged out of the way. Well, that surely ends any lingering hopes that Tottenham were entertaining. And it lifts Liverpool again. Jones, great ball. Oh, Hutchison took it away from Rush. It was a marvellous cross from Rob Jones. Here's Allen. Nothing to lose for Spurs here. Anderton. Plenty of players up. And the ball going up too high for Tottenham from Darren Anderton. But the problem for Stuart Nethercott on the penalty was that he'd allowed Ian Rush to get in front of him. And even if it was a genuine attempt to try and get to the ball, he was always likely to flatten Rush in the process. Hill, offside, Sheringham. Sedgley. Sedgley's head up, then right, Hutchison, the link up is with Liverpool and Walters. Hutchison stretching across to take the throw quickly before Tottenham had a chance to regroup. Jones, Barnes. Now Hutchison. And Sedgley cut that out very calmly. Hill is taking a chance in there. Redknapp, can he go on here for Liverpool? Jamie Redknapp, still. And Rush raises the arm in triumph again. But all the reward really should go to Jamie Redknapp. 5-2. And Spurs buckling under the strain. It was Hill who gave it away, and Redknapp really went all the way past Ruddock. And finally Rush was there in the crowd by the near post to get the final telling touch. his second, to the delight of the majority of a crowd of just under 44,000. Harkness with the tackle. Anderton to take the corner. And that's Ruddock. Spurs still trying to climb the ladder again. They've played their part. But it's been Liverpool's day, and Ian Rush has had a leading role. Anderton. Just spun behind Sedgley. Hill coming in, right there first. Nethercott. Grobbelaar, you can almost see him thinking about where to throw the ball before it arrives in his grasp. Away to Burrows. Rush, of course, is on a hat-trick. Yet again. Burrows, handball. No play on. Redknapp. Hutchison. Walters whipping it across. Barnes! It's 6! Well, they are putting on a show. And what at Highfield Road commentary will Graham Souness be making of the news of all of this? No sooner had Rush taken his tally to 2 and Barnes was there alongside him. Still 2 minutes to go. And he scored in the closing stages of each half. Well, what a reply from the players to all the talk about Liverpool and their problems. They'd be the first to admit, I'm sure, afterwards, that in the key areas, at key times, they've had the breaks today. Right. We're in the last minute now. Tottenham were beaten here 7-0 once, back in 1978. And is the time for Liverpool to get 7 to their name here. Hill. It's another penalty to Tottenham this time, given against Rob Jones, who throws the ball away in disgust for a trip on Danny Hill. And Steve Lodge, the referee here, wants to take stern action with Jones, I think more for his reaction than for the foul. Yellow card. And Liverpool trying to upset Teddy Sheringham, who's walking around bouncing the ball in company of Nicol and Burrows for a moment. Well, it has been an Grobbelaar adds to the antics. It's Sheringham, and Grobbelaar saves. Sheringham again, and Grobbelaar comes out on top on a day that Liverpool have come out on top. He was on the move, there's no doubt about that, but there's no sign of a retake. And Grobbelaar, having got there to make his parry, was up in a flash to stop Sheringham striking a second time. Well, he'll be very disappointed, Teddy Sheringham, with the prize for the Premier League's leading scorer within his grasp. Grobbelaar's on his feet. He's back in business. So, just to remind you, it stays at 6-2. Well, odd things do happen at the end of a season, and it's been an unusual afternoon here. And if Graham Souness is to go, his team has finished with a win, a thumping win, even in his absence. 2 goals for Ian Rush, 2 for John Barnes. Steve Harkness involved in one as well, with a cross that was deflected in by Stuart Nethercott. Mark Walters with a penalty after Nethercott's push on Rush. Sheringham and Sedgley, the scorers for Tottenham, who could have closed the gap, but for Bruce Grobbelaar, who saved Teddy Sheringham's penalty, along with other excellent efforts from the recalled goalkeeper, particularly in the first half. A harsh lesson in the end for Tottenham's younger brigade. The future, though, does look encouraging at White Hart Lane. But what of the future at Liverpool? Well, the players have had their say for continued employment. They've beaten Tottenham here, and now they take their bow. They've beaten them by 6 goals to 2.
Victory then for Liverpool, but it was to be a miserable first Premier League season for the Reds. They finished trophyless in 6th place, 25 points behind champions Manchester United. Tottenham's Teddy Sheringham finished as top scorer with 21 goals, but with Spurs only ending in 8th, chairman Alan Sugar axed chief executive Terry Venables and head coach Doug Livermore after the final game of the season.